Tucker. I don't care about their fan base. Tucker's coming. By the way, let me know because I've been waiting at the station for a long time. Clock's ticking. He goes 6-6. Now you got a lot of people scratching their head like, hey, man, this ain't what we paid for.
If he didn't beat Michigan twice, he probably wouldn't have made that $10 million.
And the players are doing simple things wrong. Being out of alignment, being out of phase, not looking up for the ball.
Mel Tucker's staff in East Lansing is making him look like a lot worse of a head coach. I didn't even expect this to be this bad. I joke and, this, that. I did not expect this to be this bad because now it's getting into the area where you get blown out at Washington, you get blown out at home against Minnesota. If you get blown out at Maryland, I think that's going to tell me the kind of culture that you have, almost the kind of team that you are. Seriously, I mean, try hard at least. I mean, it almost looks like they're not even trying hard. Is that not a belief in your coordinators? Is that not a belief in your system? Are your players just that bad? Which is a possibility because I want to be fair to Mel Tucker. He's had pretty much 1.5 recruiting classes. You can't really count the COVID year recruiting class. The guys that were in his first recruiting class are now second-year players, and then I find it hard to judge a group of freshmen on any particular program. So could those guys develop into something? Fine. But, in this day and age where you can go get your guys in the transfer portal, where you could just go shop for guys, I'm pretty disappointed in how it's working out at Michigan State. I mean, not disappointed. I take great pleasure in how it's working out, but I'm disappointed that it's working out this way, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, it does. You care about the competitive level of the East. You care about the competitive level as the rival as it relates to when Michigan plays Michigan
no,
State.
He doesn't.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, I do. I don't want Michigan State to be.
He wants teams to be ranked high, so it looks good.
Yeah.
When we beat Michigan State
and
they're ranked high, it looks better.
Braylon.
When you beat Michigan, Ohio State beats Michigan, etc. You get it. Going back to what you said, I don't care about all the nice things people have to say about Mel Tucker. I don't care about their fan base. Tucker's coming. By the way, let me know because I've been waiting at the station for a long time. Clock's ticking. But with that being said, it is a now time. Everything is now. You want to win now. See, you made the mistake of last year when you guys really weren't that good. You were an okay football team last year, but you had one of the best running backs your school has ever seen. One season that the Big Ten has ever seen in K9. See, it put you on this pedestal that you believed you really were 11-3 ball club. See, now you have 11-3 expectations when you're not 11-3. So when you go 2-6 and you beat Michigan, they gave you a pass. You went 11-3 last year, it looked amazing, and you beat Michigan. But now you're in danger of going 5-7. See, that's not going to be acceptable to the Michigan State fan base when they go 5-7. And they're like, well, last year we were 11-3, but this ain't last year's team. K9's not on this team. Peyton Thorne is still your quarterback. He can't save you. He can't save you. If he goes 6-6 this year, see, now it's not about the $10 million that they paid him last year. He goes 6-6. Now you got a lot of people scratching their head like, hey, man, this ain't what we paid for. Hey, man, this is not what we cheering for. So now he comes into that fourth season where it should have been a cool season. Like, you go 8-4 this year. You go, 9 and whatever or whatever. It's okay. We give him more chance to recruit. Next year we'll have a better year. K9's gone. We'll be off the K9 hangover. They go 6-6 this year, and they follow up with some BS. He's getting fired. He's a black head coach in America. He ain't lasting through 3 bad seasons, especially considering his one COVID year. Advice I have for Mel Tucker, and this is someone that I know, someone that was on the staff when I was in Cleveland. He was a DB coach. The two things you guys do the worst is secondary and the offensive line. So you need to get to firing some people. Remember at the end of Mark D'Antonio's stint, remember after Narduzzi left, that defense was trash. The secondary was awful. The offensive line was awful. They told him, hey, look, man, you can fire some people or, it's going to be problems. What did he do? Had a bad year, then he resigned the next year. He left because he wasn't really he resigned 11th hour, wasn't willing to fire anybody. That's why Mel Tucker started so late, because he resigned in the 11th hour. If he's not willing to move from his defensive coordinator, move from his secondary coach, move from his offensive line coach, they're going to tank him before he gets a chance to show you how good of a coach he can be. He may be worth that $10 million. I'm going to tell you like this, Mel. You got to get to firing some people after this season, especially if it continues to go the way in which you're going. Because you look at this schedule, Coach Tucker, it ain't gonna get no easier. Because you look at Maryland, you guys are a dog on the road at Maryland. They can run the ball. You struggle with stopping the run. Tulia Tagovailoa can pass. He's a walking 300-yard game. As I told you guys, your secondary sucks. So if you can't win on the road, if you can't beat a team that can pass the ball, they're looking at a coach that's going to be in trouble at the end of this year. Next year is going to be a make-or-break year, and he just got paid the year before that. That's what's going to happen.
He said he's in charge of the secondary. That's his specialty.
Yeah,
so he said that's what makes me a horse shit coach. That's what he basically said, right? A couple of weeks ago?
That's what he said.
Yeah.
It's a cover-up, though. Like good, strong men. Like Dan Campbell does it all the time, and we give him credit for it. So we got to give Mel Tucker the same type of credit. He knows that his coaches are not putting his players in the best situations. Whatever their teachings, whatever the technique that they're teaching, they're not putting Michigan State in the best situations to succeed. And the players are doing simple things wrong. Being out of alignment, being out of phase, not looking up for the ball, falling for double moves when they're not even playing off play action. Like, they're doing simple things. That's all teaching.
I'll tell you this: if he didn't beat Michigan twice, he probably wouldn't have made that $10 million.
Without question.
He would have got fired after year one if he didn't beat Michigan.
I don't know about year one, but he certainly wouldn't have gotten paid $10 million, $9.5 million if he didn't win that game last year.
I still think he looks like a great football coach. If one looks like it, he has that aura about him that I think he will get it straightened out. That's what my take on him.
Again, I'm not 100% on that.
Yeah.
I'm just not. And sue me or think I'm whatever. I'm not sold that Mel Tucker is this incredibly great head coach that is a can't-miss guy.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because, he really didn't do it before.
Yeah.
He has not done it before. There was one season in which he's had a winning record. Now, say what you want about the Colorado thing. It was only a year there or whatever the case may be. And then the COVID year. And then the Kenneth Walker year. And then there's this year. So you are what your record says you are in professional sports. And right now, Mel Tucker's record says he is not a can't-miss guy.
Ryan Ermanni, if you were interviewing a babysitter, like you were interviewing a babysitter to watch Little Lukey and Lydia. If you were interviewing a babysitter and they had not that many referrals, they didn't have a great reference, they only maybe had one person that they worked with, and you interviewed that person and they told you, yeah, this person she was cool. She was all right. She did a good job. You're like, do I hire them as my babysitter? All right, well, you know what? I'll give them a chance. If they mess up the first time you babysit them, then the second time they do okay, and then the third time they mess up, what are you now thinking?
I need a new babysitter.
Thank you. It's simple as that. And excuse me for that metaphor, that analogy, but it's as simple as that. When you don't have a resume, you don't give that person that many opportunities to fail. When you got a long listed resume, like if you're hiring, I don't know, just
think about Jim Harbaugh, for instance.
If you hire somebody like that, it's like, okay, well, he had success here, he had success there, he had success there. You know what? That person has a longer window of failure. That person will give them 7 years for them to get it right. When you don't have that resume, you're not getting 7 years.
Right.
You got to produce consistent and often.
Yeah, I mean, and the only reason he got 7 years, and maybe the COVID year saved him,
because he was Michigan.
Maybe the COVID year saved him, but he did coach his team in the National Football League to 3 straight NFC championships, coached him to a Super Bowl. There was a track record of success there. You just can't figure out why it wasn't happening really in Ann Arbor. So you get a longer leash, for lack of a better way to say it.
And everybody gave Harbaugh the excuse. It was like, oh, well, they're playing in the same division as Ohio State. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not saying it's necessarily an excuse, because at that time, Ohio State was powerful. I mean, they've done some amazing things at that school as it relates to football. But at that time, you're like, well, he's in the same division as Ohio State. It's kind of like being in the same division as Alabama. So they kept giving him space. I'll tell you like this. Guess who else is in the same division as Ohio State? Mel Tucker.
Yeah, and you are only, and Braylon, you probably speak to this more than anybody. You are, I don't want to say only as good as your staff, but they can make you look a lot better, and they can make a head coach look a lot worse. And right now, Mel Tucker's staff in East Lansing is making him look like a lot worse of a head coach because they ain't helping him out at all.
Yeah, also, like, when you're an assistant coach, Maz and Ryan and JB and Fletch and Adam, when you're assistant coach, you're not taking anything. Like, because if you got a cool coach like Mel Tucker's not calling you out. Mel Tucker's not at that podium and saying, you know, the offensive line is trash. Because that's a direct shot towards the offensive line culture. You know what, our defense, man, we can't stop a cold. You know, like, we can't do anything. Like, that's calling guys out, but he's not doing that. He's taking all the onus of himself. Meanwhile, as an assistant, you can be in the background shooting off texts and fillers to other schools. Like, look, man, the situation not looking too good. What's going on? You can't do that as a head coach. But as an assistant, you don't have to have loyalty. You can send off tweet. You can send off text. Hey, what's the situation looking like that in Georgia?
That's how it happens?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. As you feel it looking ugly, as you feel that axe about to get swung, and not in a good way, Tuck coming, ain't chopping nothing. And you feel that, it's like
you're going to the woodshed.
You know it's coming, so you're like, hey, you call your boy over at USC, hey, Roy Manning. Roy went to Michigan with me. He's now over at USC. Hey, what's it looking like? Y'all need a receivers coach? Because, man, it may not work here in East Lansing. I may need to get another space. Or the NFL. You're putting out those fillers so that you can protect yourself when the thing goes south.
That's called inside info.
That's right.